All right, welcome back. It's still The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. Set for our first major conversation, Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, has declared that the electoral umpire has nothing to hide when it comes to making materials and documents used in the February 25 presidential election results available to political parties. Yakubu stated this when he received the Labour Party's legal team on Monday, led by Dr. Levi Uzoku, at the Commission's headquarters in Abuja. The legal team made up of about 60 lawyers. Yes, you heard it right. About 60 lawyers were at INEC to discuss modalities for obtaining key documents that will assist the Labour Party in prosecuting its case at the Presidential Election Petitions Court. Now, the meeting with INEC officials, which was held at the Commission's national headquarters, as we said, seems to be the start of the process to inspect the electoral materials used in the February 25 presidential poll. After the meeting, Uzoku, speaking to pressmen, said the team visited INEC because it was yet to receive any electoral materials for inspection on behalf of their client. Now, recall that the party had earlier obtained a court judgment directing INEC to allow it inspect the materials used for the February 25 polls. Let's look at what this represents for the legal tussle that lies ahead. We have joining us this morning, I guess, Dr. Omoshola Deji. He's a public or political scientist, and he joins us live this time, not via Zoom, from Singapore. All right, you're welcome. Great to have you. What exactly, the confusion is still out there. We're having discussion of it before we came on. What is INEC going to give to the legal team of Obi and the legal team of Atiku? Are they giving them the result sheets copies? Are they giving them copies of ballot papers? Are they giving them access to the data from the beavers? What are they getting?
Well, the order of the Lord Justices at the Presidential Election Tribunal says that they should release election materials. Now, that has a wide definition. Election materials means that both the ballot paper, the result sheet, even the beavers, anything that has to do with the election, anything at all that pertains to the election could be regarded as an election material. So for the other political parties to now begin to determine what INEC will release to the Obi's legal team, definitely that is not permissible, because the order of court says election materials. So the Obi's legal team will now ask for what they want. Election materials varies. It takes a lot of materials for you to organize an election. So when they say election material, a lot of things is involved. Mm-hmm. So it will now depend on the legal team of the Labour Party presidential candidate to now ask for what they want. So if I have an order of court that says that, okay, I can inspect this studio, the onus now lies on me to determine where I want to inspect, what I want to inspect. But the order of court says election materials, which covers both the ballot paper, the result sheet, and every other thing that has to do with the election itself.
Well, but let me also, add this. It's a major concern, and it's that, do you think that the legal team need this to have a comprehensive review of the process? Don't forget that, Peter Obi had mentioned that he's not looking at the outcome, but he's looking at the process that led to the outcome. I'm just wondering if you can, the process is what led to the outcome, and let's not even talk about that.
Okay,
I'm asking,
okay,
all of this that you're asking, do they really need this to review the process?
They need to review the process, because the process...
Do they need it, this?
They really need it, because the process was what led to the outcome itself. And I think the presidential candidate of the Labour Party is being smart, in the sense that he says he doesn't have any problem with the result being declared. He's only challenging the process. But we all know that legally... He
doesn't have a problem. He's not challenging the results, but he's challenging the process,
that led
to
the
declaration.
And the declaration.
Yeah,
now,
it came out on Twitter.
We all know that if the process is wrong, then the result itself will be nullified. Just like we have recently in Kenya, whereby the process that brought about the emergence of the candidate that won the election was faulty. It wasn't followed according to the guideline. And the Supreme Court of Kenya was bold enough to say that, oh, you didn't follow this guideline, the process is faulty, thereby the declaration is also nullified as well. So I think it is a clever move by the presidential candidate of the Labour Party to question, to query the process. And another reason why he needs to query the process is that it has to do with the electoral body itself. That is not quite good for our democracy. We should have a situation whereby politicians will query their own actions and inaction. But in this case, they are querying the conduct of the electoral umpire itself, which is supposed to be unbiased, which is supposed to follow what it has stated in black and white. But the electoral umpire haven't allegedly failed to follow its own guideline. That's why you see that a particular candidate is now questioning the process, saying, hey, you said you were going to do this, now you've not done it, and now I am going to court to challenge the process. That is quite commendable on the part of Peter Obi, but I think it leaves much to be desired on the part of INEC itself, because most of the cases that we used to have in court is the political parties challenging the actions of each other. You change result, I didn't change result. You send talks, I didn't send talks. Those were the things that we should perhaps be seeing at the Presidential Election Tribunal now, or the conduct of the people at the collation officer, not INEC itself. And when we now say INEC, not the INEC of a state, 2 states, 3 states, the national body of INEC itself. So that leaves much to be desired for our democratic system.
Right. The Independent National Electoral Commission has had some things to say about this. I like the way one of the papers put it. I think it was a Punch who said that beavers, political parties, can't regulate INEC, says Okoye. And I'm talking about the head of information and voter education at the Independent National Electoral Commission, who said, your political parties, you can't regulate us. We regulate you. So you can't come and tell us what we should show you. We are going to determine what we reveal to you. People have hopes that the parties will be, who have approached the court, namely PDP and LP, will be able to look at the beavers, for instance. And that's why when INEC applied to the court to reconfigure the devices, there was a furor and uproar. But what INEC is saying is that political parties cannot serve as watchdog to the electoral umpire's activities. And Professor Okoye also said that things like the brain of the beavers will not be accessible to the political parties. He also said something like the result portal of the commission will not be accessible to the parties. This is information they can't be given. Even the ballot papers, the parties can have access to that.
Well, INEC has right to regulate the parties, but let me just use an example. You can decide all your life to say you don't want to give birth. It's your right. Nobody will come and force you that, oh, you must give birth. But once you give birth to a child, you don't have the right to kill it. You cannot murder that child. You've gone against the law. So INEC regulates the political parties, but INEC itself is regulating the political parties according to a particular law. INEC is not the law. INEC is subjected to the law as passed by the National Assembly via the Electoral Act, first the Nigerian Constitution, the Electoral Act, and INEC guideline itself. So if you say you are going to do this, because even I watched a video, I think in November 2022, where the INEC chairman restated that the election result will be transmitted electronically. And I am disappointed. I am ashamed that a professor of political science, I as a political scientist, in any organization I find myself, somebody like Professor Mahmoud will be my boss as a professor. But I am ashamed that we can have a professor of political science conduct such a shabby election. election that is very disgraceful, because you said it is clear that, okay, electronic transmission first, manual second. That's what you promised. We didn't force you to bring this electronic transmission kind of thing. But once you have introduced it and you have stated it in your guideline, you have to stand by it.
But kind of parties now, this is about the beavers. You know, parties like Labour Party have been saying they want to go monitor how INEC is backing up the information on their server. You know, and the commission is saying you can't come and monitor what we are doing. We are independent. You know, these are probably, you know, sensitive things that the party, the commission will want to keep away from the public, looking at how we are backing up, looking at the brain of the voters or the biometric information of voters. They're saying that you can't come and then tell us to give these things to you.
That's
I'm looking at maybe some compromise of, you know, of their information.
What INEC is saying is like a citizen and a policeman that has a search warrant. The policeman has gone to court to get a search warrant to search your home. Once that policeman has the search warrant, you won't tell the policeman that, no, don't enter my kitchen, don't enter my bedroom, just search my sitting room. But as at that time, it's beyond your powers, despite the fact that you are the owner of the home. So the order of court says election materials. Election material, that is anything that has to do with the election. So what would INEC be hiding? Whether it is APC, whether it is PDP, whether it is Labour Party or any other political party, what are you hiding? Why won't you allow them access to anything just for the sake of transparency? You have failed in the first instance. People are disappointed. Now they are challenging the process itself. Why can't you allow them to have that transparency? The politics that I think INEC is playing, which should not be tolerated in our democratic system, is that if people had uploaded the result, if the electronic had come first, definitely anything INEC declared can easily be challenged. But now that the manual had come first, INEC will now work, and maybe the tech guys will now work from answer to question, in the sense that INEC has already made a declaration. So if anybody now sits down at the back end and start inputting the figures according to what INEC declared, now how do we verify that? So INEC has messed up in terms of the transparency itself. So having failed as regards the transparency, what you can do is to now be transparent as regards the materials in your possession. But when you are not transparent as regards the material in your possession, definitely you will cast more doubt on your credibility. That's what I think.
But I'd like to also ask if you don't think that INEC on the 25th of February acted within her capacity. Now, the first time the results were protested was during, at the Coalition Center, the National Coalition Center. We saw agents of political party mentioning the various discrepancies that had happened. And we saw the likes of Dino Milaye, amongst other political party agents, stumped out, of the entire process. And I also remember vividly, as one who was involved in reportage and coverage of that election, seeing someone who was also questioning, who was also saying, hey, INEC is acting in accordance to her capacity. So it was within the ambit of, or was within her jurisdiction to whether or not go on with the election collision of results and the announcement. So again, I ask, was INEC not acting within her powers? The powers that they had the right to stop or continue with the process, and they decided to proceed.
Good question. They have the right to stop or proceed. Now, under the circumstance that we found ourselves during the election, logical reasoning should come into the process.
But that's not law.
Logical reason. Now, the law permits you to go left or right. Then logical reasoning has to come into play that, okay, it's best for me to go left than right. Now, under the circumstance, in an election whereby the three major candidates are from the three major ethnic groups, of the country, an election that people are so much interested in the outcome. I believe that if the law gives you option, logical reasoning that will favor the electorate, that will favor the credibility of the institution you represent, that will boost the image of the Nigerian state in the international community, should naturally prevail, even if you have other options. And what should have prevailed, to the best of my knowledge, is logical reasoning. So even if there are itches, you could have said that, okay, we are expressing this technical itch, but we are trying to fix it, maybe give us few hours or few days. That will still kind of like boost credibility in the process. But on the part of INEC, the danger in the election is that INEC portrays itself as if it is an extension of a particular political party, and that's the problem. So now, even if INEC was acting maybe the way it thinks best, the kind of the outlook itself doesn't show. If the election result were being uploaded in some states, maybe we have 36 states and the FCT, maybe it was successfully uploaded in 25 states, then we can take. But a situation whereby it wasn't uploaded instantly in almost across the federation. That's more like a clear sabotage.
No, but apart from the fact of uploading, there were also other issues that were, I don't know if we seem to have forgotten. There were centers where elections didn't hold because these elections were disrupted by, criminal element, thugs, and what have you. And the law is also very explicit as to, these issues. I really haven't heard that where we know that they had continuation of elections. But there were some centers, even in Lagos and across other parts where elections didn't hold. People had complained that elections didn't hold and results were declared. Now, there are also some parts where election held, but they were disrupted. And the Electoral Act also has been very explicit. Let's come back to the issue of INEC having the jurisdiction. It's within her jurisdiction to decide whether or not to continue at the time where they were being questioned and there were a lot of reports as to the results that were being announced. But don't you think that we should be blaming the law now, the Electoral Act, and, including the Constitution, because we see a lot of lacunas. You can't expressly say what exactly is logic reasoning. It's not stated there. So because what you're saying now might just be what you should think it is, but it's not clearly stated. And even what is clearly stated has not been respected. And so when you now leave things to the decision or choices of people and hope that the umpire should be, rational. What if that is rationality? Going ahead, to declare the results and announce the results and continue with the collation center despite all of the complaints. So should we not be blaming the Electoral Act and our Constitution for all of these gaps?
Well, I think the Electoral Act, as it stands now, would give us a more credible election than the one we had during the...
So you're saying there are no lacunas? Are you saying there are no lacunas?
I'm not. There's no perfect law. But the one we have, is it that bad that the election should have gone that route? No. I believe that the Electoral Act, as it is now, should have given us a more credible election than we had if the people that are going to... that are the decision makers decide to follow the Electoral Act truly. I'm not saying, I need to be clear, that I'm not saying that logical reasoning should be above the law. No. I said when the law gives you options to do A or B, then logical reasoning should prevail as regards who you are representing or who you serve. INEC in this case is serving the Nigerian people.
But how do you define logical reasoning? So what if the decision to continue with the announcement of the result is logical for the chairman of the umpire because he went ahead? And so what if that was his logical reasoning?
Well,
So I'm saying that because the Constitution has not expressly, for the fact that you allow, the umpire to decide whether or not they can continue, it's within her powers to continue or not continue. Use her discretion to go ahead. Now, how do you define discretion? Discretion is relative, depending on who is defining it. Okay. That's the point. So again, it shows that we're not being very precise. Maybe we didn't see this coming, and that's why the Electoral Act was not able to capture some of these excesses.
Well, INEC guideline for the election, it's what I stand by. Before the game, you said, okay, this is going to be the rule of the game. No offside. And when the game starts, you can't change at the middle of the game. If you are going to change, then you need to seek the consent of the participant of the game itself, which is the political parties. The political parties are well represented at the collation center. Nigerians are watching. Now, what is the value of an election that the citizens at which you conducted the election for doubt the transparency? Oh, what is the value of that election itself? What we would have if is a situation whereby the court will keep deciding. Because, okay, now, at the end of the day, people have died because of this election. Nigerians have spent money because of this election. They have wasted their time to register, get their PVC. And at the end of the day, now, the beauty of democracy is for the process to be so transparent to the extent that when the winner is declared, at least the transparency alone gives you the joy to have participated in the process even if you lose that election. But in this case, the transparency, not because you state that you won't be transparent. The INEC guideline shows a lot of transparency. But at the end of the day, you told us, one server and one IRF, you couldn't upload the result. And at the end of the day, I was listening to the PDP chieftain in Lagos on a sister channel, Chief Bode George, saying that one of the tech guys at INEC is a former commissioner in Lagos. Imagine that. And the presidential candidate of the APC itself is a former governor of Lagos State. And we know, it is a matter of public knowledge, that directly and indirectly, he has been in charge of Lagos State since 1999. Okay. So you shouldn't take steps that will question the transparency of the process itself. Right. You should at least do your part, because you said you are independent and you promised A, try and deliver A. So not that you will now say that, okay, you want to proceed when there are options that you can take Dr. that Deji, can improve the credibility of the process itself.
So I think that independence and credibility, but we may have to do some more investigations to know if more about this person.
No, I gave you reference. Yes, it's not my word. It's the word of Chief Bode George.
You've said that.
So that's why I gave you reference.
Yes. But not to conduct a media trial. But what do you expect? The likes of the legal team of Atiku and Obi to do when they get to court. We've said that they deserve and they have the right by the order of court, the highest, the presidential election petition court, to get anything they want. And I keep saying, no, you cannot come look at sensitive information in like the biometrics of the voters, the brain of the beavers, etc. The cloud server and all that. You can't look at that. We're simply going to give you the result sheets and all that. And which by law, actually, in the Electoral Act, you are anybody, you can apply for it. They will give you a printout. But going forward, if they're to make a case, what do you expect the legal teams to say, to the court? Do you expect that we can see something on the screen here? This is Sam Amadi, former commissioner for INEC, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, and he's talking about the Obiakpo federal constituency, the Obiakpo local government elections, the presidential elections, and there's a claim going around. I think Reno Mokri has also done a video about this, that in what you see from the result sheets that the party agents submitted, and Festus Okoye said the agents themselves the party's agents have the result sheets, so there's nothing they need from INEC really. He says that hail INEC free and fair election, Obiakpo results. They're saying what they saw on the portal was APC 80,000 plus LP just about 3,000. But the result sheets that the agents have, they are claiming that they have 70,000 and APC 12,000. Now, if we see these discrepancies on the INEC's IREF, okay, do you think the parties will be able to make headway by presenting such as evidence. Okay? I'm going to add a sub-question to this. Bearing in mind what happened between Oyetola and Adeleke in Osun State, where, yes, the electoral access, if you see a notice of voting, cancel the election and order a fresh election right there at the polling unit. But the courts, they counted everything and said Oyetola is the winner. And they are saying that even if they were to order a fresh election, the result of that fresh election would not affect the outcome of the election. So I want you to look at that if they have this evidence.
Okay, now, let me start with this. There's a football match, and your opponent scores, and you are doubting whether it is a goal. Then the referee team says you can't look at the VAR. You can't send your team to the back to check the screen through slow motion to determine whether it's a goal or not. How would you feel? You will feel bad. So I think that there's really nothing to hide.
But the result, the
result,
yes.
The result, as uploaded by INEC has its own tech guys. Peter Obi, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Atiku Abubakar should bring their own tech guys and they review it together.
Okay, but if I'm Labour Party now, okay, guys, I'm not Labour Party, it's just an example. People are attacking me on Twitter. I'm Labour Party now, for instance. And I say, INEC, you have this result that shows XYZ, like Obiapo, where somebody is making this claim. But I have different results. And even look at PDP too, says, yeah, we have this result. And it's different from what you presented. The course is okay, fine. Yes, indeed, that is the case. We are going to recount everything. And we'll give it to Labour Party or PDP. But that count does not affect the overall result of the election. Even if we add all those votes for you, we had it for you, Atiku, it still will not make you the winner. Tinubu will still edge you. So we can't do anything. Our hands are tied. It means the case is dead.
Well, no. One thing such case would do is to strengthen the electoral process and the law that will emerge thereafter if there's going to be any amendment to the Electoral Act. Law comes through the pronouncement of the court, through the different judgment, especially at the Supreme Court level and at the appeal court, as the case is right now. So even if it's not going to maybe benefit or change the outcome, for the fact that it will strengthen our electoral system, it will strengthen our legal political jurisprudence, I think it's worth pursuing, sincerely.
But it seems to be a fait accompli or an exercise of futility, because if the parties are seeking to be declared winner, nothing may come out of it.
Well, the thing is, we never can say. It depends on how the parties were able to present their argument in court. It depends on the logicality of their argument and their prayer in court. The court is not Father Christmas. If they are praying for annulment and they can prove it, then maybe at the discretion of the court, it can be granted.
Do you foresee the Obi legal team or the Atiku legal team being able to put together enough numbers and result sheets where you have discrepancies, if the court says, okay, fine, we'll take it, to make up the numbers?
That's where Peter Obi is being smart, in the sense that he is challenging the process. If he successfully challenged the process, the result will be annulled.
We have to go. Yes, so we see the wisdom in what Obi is saying, where it says challenging the process and the declaration, but not the outcome.
So Obi's advisors are very smart, because they might have done the collation. In fairness, Bola Tinubu may have won fair and square, but INEC itself might end up putting Bola Tinubu himself in problem.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, if Obi successfully challenged the process, if the process is wrong, the outcome is wrong. Okay. That's it. So Obi is being smart, being clever to challenge the process, and if he could prove his case that INEC has not followed his guideline, then the election at the wisdom of the court might be annulled. Now, to whose disadvantage? Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So why should INEC itself play against its own rule?
We have to go. We're out of time. I want to thank you so much for your time, Dr. Omoshola Deji, political scientist.
Thank you very much.
Interesting analysis. We look forward to more interactions with you while you're still with us.
Well, that's my pleasure.
All right, we have to move on, Mercy.
Well, that's it this morning. Thank you so much for being part of the show, Dr. Omoshola Deji. We'll just take a break now, and when we return, it'll be time for us, to be looking at our second conversation now. It's the week for glaucoma. We'll talk about this. Glaucoma, globally, it's a global issue, and we'll be having, experts in the studio this morning. Stay with us. Good morning.